Welcome all. The ongoing COVID has thrown a lot of challenges, both in terms of health crisis as well as in terms of financial challenges. We have almost crossed 45 days of lockdown, and the government is considering lifting the lockdown in stages. In this scenario, let's look at some personal finance challenges which we face currently and the ways to overcome the same. The first aspect is to understand on the emergency corpus requirements. COVID is definitely a pandemic and it has thrown a lot of challenges. The main important challenges with respect to jobs. We have been hearing a lot about salary cuts, even job cuts. People are having enough replacement job opportunities. It's not only with respect to the employee level, even the business owners or the employers, they are also having challenges because there is no business literally in the last 6 weeks. And also there is challenges for government because the tax collections have been the lowest for the year, we can say. These challenges could continue for some time. The best thing is to take a look at what we have, whether we have sufficient emergency corpus. If we don't have, we have to find out the means to create this one as early as possible. How much should be the emergency corpus? In general, it should be at least 6 months of our monthly expenses equivalent, which include EMIs. This could be slightly higher too based on the individual requirement. This emergency corpus can take care of any shocks with respect to job losses or with respect to medical emergencies or with respect to any asset repairs. The next aspect to look at is on the health insurance cover, whether we have sufficient health insurance covers or not. You may know that per day, average hospitalization cost due to COVID ranges around 40 to 50,000. That's per day. This is a normal hospitalization. For ICU, it could be double of that. And the average hospitalization period is about 10 days time. That means we are talking about expenses of about 4 to 5 lakhs hospitalization expense over a period of 10 days time in case we are affected with COVID, particularly with respect to private hospital treatment. This is for one individual. If one or more individual gets affected in the family, this can easily take away about 9-10 lakhs. Do we have sufficient health insurance cover? It is predominant to consider at this point of time. A good plan, a good advice from a proper advisor can help you with that. A few days back, I was discussing with a friend's friend who has come through a reference, and we are discussing on his personal finance aspects. During the conversation, the person said that I have 12 lakhs of sum assured, that is a life insurance cover, which I think is sufficient. That was his view. Then we tried to describe how much this 12 lakhs sum assured is worth. If the breadwinner is not there, this 12 lakhs is what the surviving family members get, and naturally their preference will be to invest in a fixed deposit kind of instrument which pays around 5.5 to 6% per annum. Even assuming 6% per annum, this 12 lakhs will give about 72,000 per annum, that is 6,000 per month. This person was earning around 1 lakh per month and his monthly expenses were around 70 to 75,000 rupees per month. So the replacement income what his family is going to get is that paltry 6,000 per month. Whether that is sufficient, this is what we made him understand. So to choose a life insurance cover which is appropriate based on your own income lifestyle is an art, a good advisor can do that thing, it should be based on human life value principles. Check whether you have sufficient life insurance cover or not. Frugality is most important. It's high time that we need to look at our needs as well as wants. Whatever we need to spend on our needs, that should be our priority, and wants can always be postponed, and that the thing which we need to have in the next few months to few quarters. We have been reading that discounts are set to make a comeback. We have been seeing that this discounts always got great response in the past. It could be a mobile phone, it could be a accessory, it could be anything where the common man used to go and purchase through online offline purchases. Whether the need is there or not, we have been buying. We have been replacing those cell phones once in 1.5 years, 2 years. Whether that is required, that is the topmost question at this point of time. These offers can give 50% discount, 60%, even 75%. They can be very attractive. We don't deny that. There is a need, we can consider. If it's just a want, you don't save just 50%. You instead save 100%. Yes, everything is 100% off when you don't buy it. Any investment has to be based on a proper asset allocation pattern. When we say asset allocation, the broader asset classes could be divided into 4-5. We try to name that things. If we say equities, it could be those large cap, mid cap, small cap stocks or mutual funds. Growth or value stocks or mutual funds. International stocks or mutual funds. The property may involve residential property, commercial property or REITs. Commodities, which include gold. Bonds, which includes corporate bonds, government bonds, debt funds, quality debt instruments. Cash may include hard cash, which we have in hand in savings bank or in liquid or money market funds. When we have done an asset allocation and we have invested, this is time we have to review it. If you have not done the asset allocation and just done an ad hoc investment, it is time to do asset allocation and review it. After reviewing, rebalancing is the most important factor. That is, increasing or decreasing your weightage in the particular asset class based on your own goals has to be done. This could be goal oriented or the asset valuation oriented. A good advisor can help you in that thing. It's time to rebalance means we have to do some adjustment. The most important investment one can make is the investment on self. Today we have lot many online courses which are available in the lockdown period. Many of them are free, some of them are paid. It's worth even if you are paying and undertaking some of these courses. What it can build is we become more valuable in front of our employer. More valuable in terms of skills, in terms of knowledge. That is what you can be at this point of time, because the markets are going to be extremely challenging. It's also time to seek those quality mentors, join those paid webinars or seminars if required, and read a bit and develop ourselves, join good groups, quality groups, and keep trying. This is also time to ensure proper discipline is maintained. We many a times get a query that whether this credit card dues are eligible under moratorium or not. Banks have been offering this moratorium period, 3 months moratorium period for certain loans, but whether this is applicable or not for credit cards. In general, many banks do not offer moratorium for credit card balances, but some of the banks may offer that too. If we are delaying payments of this credit card dues, that means we should be ready to pay that 3% per month as interest, which can be equivalent to 42% on compounded basis, 42% per annum. This is extremely costly at this point of time and it can dent our savings or earnings. So this has to be given most top priority. Pay credit card bills or those high cost loans, including personal loans. The other query we get is whether we should avail moratorium or not. Generally, if the financial situation permits, it is better to say no to moratorium and keep paying those EMIs and dues on time. Only in extreme financial emergencies, it is better to avail the facilities like moratorium. A general calculation can say for a long-term loan, if we delay by taking 3 months moratorium, the loan tenure can get extended by 9 months, which means we have to pay those 6 months extra EMIs, whether it is required or not. So it is better to avoid moratorium as far as possible. The other pattern we see is people have been withdrawing from the EPF balances using the facility given by EPFO. This investment or saving, which is part of EPF or PPF or even NPS, are generally for long-term needs, and it creates long-term corpus in the form of debt or marginal equities if we are choosing NPS. If we go and withdraw these corpuses, it's going to dent our long-term retirement corpus in a good way. So it is better to avoid those temptation to withdraw and spend it. Rather, let the money accumulate and keep compounding. All beautiful things take time to grow. We get more queries on SIPs, whether the equity SIPs should continue or not. Some of the SIPs are showing negative return over the last 2 to 3 years, whether this should be discontinued at this point of time. SIP is a beautiful tool where if the equity markets comes down, we get higher number of units because we contribute the same amount and NAV drops because of the equity volatility and we get higher number of units. During good times, when it moves up, we get higher NAV. Number of units as well as higher NAV, both are critical and crucial for us to build a good amount of long-term wealth. So it is important for us to continue this SIPs without any disturbance. One can think about pausing it in case of financial emergencies. Till the time the financial issues or the tightness get over, they can pause it and restart it when it is required. But it is advisable to continue the SIPs as it is. The other important factor is to have a clear review on estate planning. Everyone needs a plan, and we need to start with doing a thorough check on those nominations, whether we have properly nominated in all our financial investments, including deposits, mutual funds, shares, and all those instruments. Whether we have identified the person who is going to manage our wealth and created a proper will in case we are not there. Whether we have identified the risks in terms of medical emergencies and has done some kind of advanced directives in case we are into the medical emergency ourselves. If at all there is a probable disability risk, whether we have done things like power of attorney to take care of those risks. A good estate planner can help in all these aspects, and one need to review about this. Few years back, one of our existing clients requested us to help a family known to him as they were struggling to bring things in order after the sudden demise of the head of the family, who was sole breadwinner. When we discussed with the family, we found challenges. In fact, we can say it is one of the most challenging scenario ever we had, because the family was not knowing where the investments are. The family was not knowing where the records are kept. Even with the available records, there were lots of mistakes, including the name mistake, nominee left out, and many things. This creates lot of problems for the family members who are in a position to receive that estate. The best gift one can give to the family is by ensuring proper smooth transition in case of any sudden mishap, so that the wealth get transferred to the family in a smoother way. What are the records to be maintained? It could involve bank statements, bank records, or those insurance policies, documents related to credit card, debit cards, and other related cards, investment including mutual fund information, or fixed deposits, or post office, or those bonds, shares, demat details, everything, tax related records, home title deed, where it is maintained and kept, car title deed and certification copies, and will, where it is kept and who is the executor. This at least need to be discussed with the spouse. If we are allowing our spouse to understand all these matters in a better manner, in case of emergencies, touch wood, nothing should happen. In case of sudden mishaps, this will help the family to take care of the financial uh, financial transition in a smoother manner. We hope these tips were good and useful to you. We invite you questions or queries in the contacts which we have given. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.